Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 231 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today, we'll be discussing chapter 5 of Feast for Crows, that's Samwell 1.
And as we always do, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you, unless you have the spoiler tiers, and hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes, we'll provide some additional information about the characters and geography of this chapter. How are you, Mackelly?
I'm doing all right. It was good to see you for the second time today. You look a little more cleaned up than last time I saw you.
I was bedraggled. I'd just played soccer. Yeah, it was good to see you.
Yeah, you were mud spattered and limping heavily.
Yeah, the limping hasn't gone away.
And your shoes were falling apart, as our colleague Helen pointed out.
I mean, but you know what? In America, people's idea of shoes falling apart is way more of a princess and a pea situation than it is in most countries. Those shoes were perfectly adequate.
Well, they were still on your feet, so I guess there's that.
The nature of those, I mean, it was soccer boots or soccer cleats that I was wearing, is that they have a very sort of like tight fabric sort of ankle thing. So it has a shoelace. What's actually fallen apart on that is the shoelace eye holes have all broken. So now the shoelace just sort of like hangs across the front. But the thing is, they don't really tighten the shoe because the whole thing is so tight around my foot anyway. It's completely irrelevant. So they've got 2 more years left in them, I'm sure.
There you go. Get another 2 years out of them. Then by then you probably your game might have slowed a little bit, and you can...
yeah, it's already slowing. So yeah, because of all my injuries, I had to play goalkeeper today, and I did okay, I thought, but we did lose 4-0, so not that okay.
Either the other team was much better than you all, or the other goalie was much better than you.
My first 2 draft picks were both missing today.
Oh, yes. I see.
So
were they
that
defense?
And me in goal, it's a recipe for disaster, really.
Yes, but what a beautiful day. That's why
glorious here.
We're starting a little late because I was sitting out on the back deck having dinner with Molly and Stacy, and we were just having such a nice evening. It's idyllic out there.
Well, glad I could put a stop to that. My brother's daughter's cat passed away, Bon Bon. And,
that's why it says Bonbon and Winty Banter. I thought it was the treat. Bonbons.
His daughter lives in Scotland, and Bonbon and he live in France, so she only sees it in the summer. But she's very fond of this cat, and she's got exams at the moment, so she hasn't yet been told. So I'm pretty sure she doesn't listen to the podcast, so we should be okay.
All right. Okay. Good.
My brother's going through all kinds of like getting footprints of it, and
that's sweet of Rob.
Yeah. We're worried. Since the cat died, he's asked for an order of clay to arrive to do a cast, and we're like, the cat's dead, right? This thing. Now I got visions of it in the freezer or something. Then we started riffing on this, that my brother just like, he's already got rid of the cat. He's now phoning it in, sort of like he just uses his own fist for the cat. Poor boy.
Any cat will do, really.
Exactly, any cat. He's got other cats. Yeah.
I don't know that she'll be able to identify one cat paw print from another.
But presumably the guilt would eat away at him, I would imagine.
Maybe at some point. Maybe.
He accused Carson of suggesting that he should saw the dead cat's paw off. But Carson didn't actually say that.
When Ethan was little, he had a blanket that we creatively dubbed Special Blankie. And,
I remember Special Blankie.
Yeah, it had a little Winnie the Pooh in the corner of the blanket, and he took it everywhere with him. And as the years went by, it started to become threadbare, and really start to. There was like an outer silk border
Kids
to it.
love that. Yeah, like a satiny feel to it.
Yes, satin. Yeah, and it was falling off of the rest of the blanket, and it was getting really threadbare. So I went on back then eBay, and I found an almost identical copy to it. And so I ordered it. I had to wait up till 2:00 in the morning to make sure I had the winning bid on that blanket. That was back before buy now, the buy now option. So I told Ethan I was taking his blanket to the blanket doctor, and then did the switcheroo. And he was like, well, why is it smaller? So it was slightly smaller. I said, well, because the doctor had to use, cut away some of the material that was falling apart and make it tighter. And so it's smaller. And I did not tell him. I totally forgot. I did not tell him for years. Probably he was in his teens before it ever came up that, oh yeah, we pulled the blanket switcheroo. So I don't know if, like a teenage Ethan was still thinking I took his blanket and had it repaired.
Well, don't think. Ask him. He's
yeah, I guess I will ask him.
What did he think? How did he react?
Well, as a teenager, he's not the sentimental type like Molly and I are. He's more stoic like Stacy. So yeah. I do still have both blankets though. I kept the other one hidden in a shoebox in the bedroom in my closet.
But also the interesting little factoid that came up today when I saw you was that Ethan is now the age that you were when Ethan was born. And this is a frightening thought.
That is factual.
You are essentially a grandfather at this point.
There's one missing detail, and I hope it stays missing for a while.
Well, okay, you're mathematically a grandfather. Let's put it that way.
I guess so. It's pretty surreal to be the same age. Your son, your child, to be the same age as you were when you had them. It's a surreal feeling.
I have a long time to go.
Right.
But I believe I will still feel that he's much too young to be the father of a child when that happens.
Very possibly, yes. Mm-hmm. Were you still in your 20s?
No, God.
No?
Not even close.
Mid-30s?
I was 33 when he was born.
33, okay. Yeah. Right, because we met when Lucas was in diapers.
Yeah.
Maybe a year younger, so...
Yeah.
I know about what time frame that was.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's get down to business. How do we leave Samwell Tarly? Last we saw of Sam, he was totally Vladimir Putin the election for Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. You wondered how I was going to say that, didn't you?
I did.
His machinations had led to the election of Jon Snow. He was also positing ideas for how Gilly could be looked after. Sent to Horn Hill as the mother of Sam's bastard son was one idea. He was scoping out Lightbringer on behalf of Maester Aemon and answering questions from Stannis about the Night Fort and the Black Gate. Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
All right. Well, Sam's deep in the Castle Black library reading. He's so engrossed in his research that he can't recall how long ago he last slept. However, his candle has burned surprisingly low, so it must have been a while ago. He decides he's left Maester Aemon alone for too long. The Centenarian hasn't been strong as of late and has required a lot of help from Sam.
He emerges from the depths of the library to see that the builders are hard at work repairing the stairs to the top of the wall, damaged in the fighting with the wildlings. The order for the repair has been given by the new Lord Commander Jon Snow. Sam runs into his friends Ed, Pip and Grenn. Ed was sent by Jon to summon Sam to him. Pip and Grenn are returning from archery lessons, a new mandatory requirement of all Black Brothers, regardless of rank and station, again by command of the new Lord Commander. Seems Sam forgot about the archery session.
The other boys are annoyed with Jon, as he's not had time for them since he's become Lord Commander. Sam comes to his defense. Jon has huge obligations now. The wall is his. Grenn points out it hasn't kept him from the practice yard. He's there every free moment that he has. Sam recalls Jon telling him how Jon was surprised by how much better a fighter Qhorin Halfhand was than Jon, hence the excessive training.
Sam leaves his friends and continues to Jon, who set up operations in Donald Noy's former quarters behind the armory. As he approaches, Gilly emerges from the armory, looking sad and scared. She brushes by Sam, but he catches her arm to stop her. They speak of the babies. Dalla's boy cries a lot, hers hardly ever. As tears fill her eyes, she hurries off to feed them.
Jon sits at his desk reading with Mormont's raven on his shoulder, seemingly doing the same. Jon asks Sam to look at the parchment he calls a paper shield. It's a letter to King Tommen explaining their relationship with Stannis. Jon recalls when Tommen and Bran sparred at Winterfell. Now Bran's dead and Tommen is king. Sam thinks about Bran being very much alive, but doesn't tell Jon his secret.
The parchment reiterates the Night's Watch rule not to take part in the wars of the realm. Stannis is helping them fight their foes from beyond the wall. However, the Brothers of the Night's Watch are not Stannis' men. Sam worries that if Tywin prevails over Stannis, it might mean the end of the Night's Watch, despite their claim of neutrality. On the other hand, he also thinks acknowledging Stannis' aid might cause Tywin to act in kind, or bring scorn upon King Tommen as not protecting the realm like Stannis is.
Jon thinks if Stannis can raise the North, maybe he'd have a chance against the Lannisters. Sam remembers Stannis sent a bird to all the northern houses. Only the Karstarks have responded, but thunderous silence from the rest of the kingdom. Jon decides the letter is better than saying nothing at all and signs his name to it.
Jon tells Sam that he's sending Gilly and the baby away. Sam can go through with his plan to claim her boy as his bastard and send them to Horn Hill. Sam momentarily balks at the idea, but concedes to do it. Sam asks why Gilly looked so upset outside. Jon says that Val has asked her to plead for Mance's life again. Jon thinks the chances of Mance being spared are slim. Rumour is Melisandre plans to give him to the flames. Jon wants to know what Sam found in his research about the others. The answer is very little of use. The accounts are sparse and written thousands of years after the Long Night.
Some confirm what they already knew. Dragonglass kills them. They ride dead animals. Their own blades shatter common steel. It's really only the mention of dragon steel being effective that is new. Both men assume it's Valyrian steel. Great! Only one of the most precious commodities in the realm. Sam is confident with more time he'll find more answers, but Jon tells him he has no more time. He's going with Gilly to Oldtown.
Internally, Sam panics. Oldtown is near Horn Hill and his father. Jon adds that Maester Aemon is coming with them, as well as Daeron from Eastwatch to round out the foursome. Sam is so confused. Aemon is 102. He'll never survive the journey. Jon tells him it's a better bet than staying put. Stannis knows Aemon's true identity, and Jon knows that Stannis and Melisandre are looking for king's blood for their sacrifices.
Jon cuts to the chase. He needs Sam to go to the Citadel and become a maester. Aemon won't be around much longer. Sam seems highly upset by the prospect, which surprises Jon, who figured he'd like the idea. Sam recalls a conversation with his father about a chain around his neck. As punishment, his father chained him to the wall for 3 days. Tarly men don't wear chains of servitude. Jon, however, is unmoved by the story. Sam has no father, only brothers. He'll go to the Citadel and become a maester. He sends Sam to pack. They leave on the morrow before dawn.
The next morning, Sam saddles his horse as Aemon is loaded into a wayn. The maester tells Jon he's left a book for him. There's a passage he thinks Jon might find interesting. He tells Jon that knowledge is a weapon and to arm himself before riding into battle. Gilly and the baby arrive. It's clear she's been crying again. She pleads to Jon to find a good wet nurse for Dalla's boy and insists Jon not name him until he's 2. Jon promises on both accounts. As the men move out, Jon tells Sam to have a swift voyage and to take care of Gilly, Aemon, and the baby.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. Well, I bet nobody saw that one coming.
Well, I mean, unless you've read it before or watched the show.
Right, yes. If this is your first exposure to it, I bet you didn't expect that Sam was about to leave Castle Black.
Yeah, it is quite the departure. I mean, I wonder if it's kind of like new book, new start kind of thing. He's like, where should I take Sam's story? You know?
Yeah.
But the thing about, I will give George Martin, there's so many threads to the story that make logical the conclusions you come to, because the spoilers here we have to be careful around when we have to discuss this chapter.
Right.
But there are very good reasons for him leaving, you know, for Jon sending him away from the wall. Not Sam particularly, but Aemon in particular.
Sure.
And so it all hangs together in a logical way. In fact, when I get to comparison with the television show, I'll make the point that the television show doesn't hang together at this point. It's all backwards and doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But Sam actually sort of foreshadows where he's going by spending the first part of the chapter sitting in a dark cell reading books, which is what he might be expected to do at Oldtown.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that connection there.
You can see how much Sam loves it because, I mean, he missed meals and sleep for it, you know.
There's two other things he loves. At least one of the two we know he loves. Yeah, you know, we don't know how much time has passed since the Lord Commander vote, when Jon was voted into office. But it does seem like Jon is starting to make his mark on the Night's Watch as Lord Commander.
Yeah, so both the rebuilding of the stairs and also the mandatory archery lessons for everyone.
Yeah, and so his rationale makes sense about the stairs. Gonna need those.
Gonna need those stairs.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, actually? When I read that part of the chapter the first time, for some reason I envisioned them building the stairs downwards from the top.
They're stuck.
So when I read it, I was like, wait a minute. When I reread it, I was like, no, they're building it from the bottom as any non-lunatic would. I was like, why did I think they were doing that?
Oh, it would be really funny if they decided...
They were shipping all the materials up the winch chain just to carry them all the way back down the remaining stairs.
Then they're stuck there for the day. I have to go all the way back up and all the way back down at the end of their shift.
Okay, with hindsight, it was silly.
Well, Otto Yarwick should probably be fired if that was his plan. But the rationale for the archery practice makes some sense. His thought is, we've become too dependent on the sword, and this stemming from the days when there was a higher concentration of knights.
Yeah, he said
in the Night's Watch.
It used to be 1 in 10 was a knight, now it's less than 1 in 100, so...
Yes. In fact, it made me think about I can barely name any knights left, at least at Castle Black, aside from...
Oh, you're forgetting about Witten Stout.
Yes, right. That's the... I mean, so many died at the Fist or during the Great Raging. There's hardly any left.
I cracked myself up. I'm sorry. Sir Alistair Thorne, surely.
Sir Alistair Thorne is one, yes.
Yeah, they are. There are.
I forgot. There's a few. There's just a few, though. Yeah. But but the rationale makes sense with the training of with the bow, because it's better to defend from long range than up close.
Yeah, it made sense without having the experience of it making sense. They should have been doing this all along.
Right.
Yes, it would be handy if they could all fight with a sword. True, if the others, White Walkers, wildlings, get across the wall. In the meantime, stop them from getting across the wall by being good with a bow and arrow.
Right. Yes, you have that 700-foot tall wall where sword play probably wouldn't come in much use.
Let's rappel down that 700-foot wall to fight them with swords.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, another mark that he's making is apparently he's ridding Castle Black of a large percentage of its brain power by getting by removing both Sam and Maester Aemon. So could be a bit of a problem. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's true. Although both of them have that same problem of not really being listened to very much, Aemon and Sam. So.
Especially Sam. Aemon at least, carries some cachet as being a respected member.
Yeah. So Sam still believes that Stannis is planning to use Val. And reminder who Val is. She is Dalla's sister. Dalla was Mance Rayder's wife who died in childbirth.
Right.
So Sam still believes that Stannis is planning to use her to seal an alliance with the North and broker peace somehow between the wildlings and the North. That definitely was mooted, but is that still the case? Because part of that was, and I'm not sure Sam was aware of this, it was to marry her to Jon, but right. Jon is clearly not interested in that anymore, being the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch and all, unless he really wants to bend the rules.
He's in charge now. Yeah. You remember that rule we have? Well,
now, it sounds like the Karstarks might be interested. Yeah, tell me more about this Val.
Well, yeah. So, what is the new plan? Who will Stannis make as the new Lord of Winterfell or the Warden of the North? It's not likely going to be the Boltons because Roose Bolton is clearly Tywin's man. It seems unlikely that the Boltons would switch sides randomly to Stannis.
Yeah. Typically when you're riding the winning horse, it's weird to jump onto the three-legged nag that's trailing behind,
Yes. That would be I know Roose can be unpredictable, but that would really be unpredictable.
Yeah.
So
this has all become too easy for me.
Now Tywin's dead, maybe, I guess, the Boltons could figure, no, Cersei's going to blow this somehow. So Stannis is already in the North, let's just back him. I guess that's a possibility. But if it's not Roose Bolton, who else is he? Maybe right. Like you said, the Karstarks are the only ones that have responded to his request.
And of course the Karstarks are a bit of a loose cannon now as well, because their alliance with the Starks is at an all-time low.
Yes.
Yes. But perhaps they also don't like the Boltons, so maybe they're looking to position themselves as, we'll be your house in the North, Stannis. If you win the Seven Kingdoms, then the Karstarks become preeminent in the North.
Yes. And I had the same thought about the Karstarks. It's a little bit odd that of all the houses in the North, the same house that betrayed Robb Stark is the one that pledges their support, the only house that pledges their support to Stannis. Last we saw of them, they were part of Bolton's force that he brought to the twins and took place in the Red Wedding. So now that Bolton
did.
And now that Bolton's Lord Paramount of the North, and like we mentioned, fully Tywin's man, or the Lannisters' man at this point, I guess.
Yeah.
It seems odd that they would now back someone who doesn't back Bolton.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
Yeah. The one thing about that I would say is I don't think that they were allied. This is my guess, and it's purely guess. They weren't allied with the Boltons. It's not like Rickard Karstark murdered the 2 Lannister children, or the Freys, whatever they were, in order to break up Robb's army and join forces with the Boltons. Once the Karstarks were ostracized from the Starks, they found a friend in the Boltons temporarily. But I don't think it was ever meant to be. I don't think the Karstarks ever really saw that as a true alliance.
Well, you raise a good point. Yeah. It's possible that they've been ostracized by the Bolton force, who is backed by the Lannisters, because, like you said, Rickard Karstark killed a Lannister in a fray in cold blood.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe they're out on their own. But also, Harrion Karstark is currently a prisoner of the Lannisters, who the Boltons are in bed with. So
right, very true.
So, either they're secretly considering betraying Bolton, or possibly this is some sort of trick being set for Stannis. It's at this point we don't know. It just seems really weird.
Yeah. But nevertheless, Val remains a bargaining chip. I mean, her beauty on the one hand, and also the sense that Stannis has, which may not be true, that her betrothal, her marriage to someone from the north, would help cement ties with the wildlings. I think he's wrong, but that's, I think, still a part of his plan.
I agree, yeah. And I agree that he's probably wrong as well, because he's thinking about this through the lens of someone coming from the south side of the wall.
Exactly.
So
exactly. To the wildlings, they would be like, "Oh yeah, I know Val." They would not think, "Oh, Princess Val." That's the last thing they would think. You know?
Agreed.
So Jon is neglecting his duty as a friend to Ed, Pip, Grenn, and Sam as well, presumably. But he does have other duties of the job. In fact, I found it strange when he got elected Lord Commander that the first thing he did was go for a drink with them. Seemed like the least likely outcome, really. But now he's reverted to type.
Yes, it was his last big hurrah. It was like his bachelor party before taking on all that responsibility. Yeah, it's understandable. He's still learning a new job, has a huge upgrade in responsibilities and pressure, especially under the current circumstances. The war with the others, the wildlings that they've got captured currently. There's other wildlings out there that they still have to deal with. Stannis and his demands here at Castle Black. So,
yeah. It's almost pedantry, but it's kind of comical that they said, yeah, he's got time for other things. He's got time for archery. I mean, he spends every spare minute
sword fighting.
Well, actually, sword fighting in his case. That's right. Yeah, he spends every spare minute sword fighting, and it's like, okay, but that's every spare minute. He doesn't have any other spare minutes. That's the point, you know.
He's only got a few spare minutes. Yeah, it would be nice if he took one of those spare minutes every now and then and had a cup of mulled cider with his old buddies. Yeah. But, you know, he's got other things on his mind right now.
No, well, actually, on that subject, and I should have said this in Witty Banter earlier, on Friday at work, I went to the pharmacy. There's a pharmacy at work, and the big boss was in there with me. I'd like to make a joke about what he was getting, but I don't know what he was getting, so I won't do that. But he and I left at the same time. We got in our cars in the parking lot, and we drove out of the parking lot. I was just directly behind him. And this won't mean anything to anybody else, but at the end of the parking lot to the pharmacy, you can either turn left or right. But if you turn left, you immediately hit a gate into the campus of our work. And that gate doesn't have a card reader. So there's no way you can come. That is an exit-only gate. That gate is only used for exit. So you have to turn right and then wriggle around to the gate that does have a card reader on it to get into the campus.
Uh-huh.
He turned left and that gate opened and he went
Of course
through.
It did.
And I was like,
he pays for that gate.
I'd never seen that gate open. I didn't even know it could open. I was like...
That is true power right there. Exactly. He was wielding his power.
I almost tailgated him.
Would have saved you a few minutes.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's some power right there.
Right. So that was like Jon Snow going for a drink with.
Right. Yeah, I see the association. Yeah, I see it clear as day.
If he just stuck his arm out of the window and like done a wave to me for that would have been, he's a man of the people.
Right.
So anyway, Gilly is teary-eyed when she meets Sam, and later we're led to believe that this is because she had been asking Jon to intercede on behalf of Mance at Val's request. Seems a bit strange. Why couldn't Val go and see Jon? Val is every bit as close to Jon as Gilly is.
Yeah, seems an unlikely spokesperson for Mance. I thought the same thing.
Right, yeah. You know how I'm Craster's daughter and wife? Well, I'm also Mance Raider's lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, Craster and Mance were not friendly.
Exactly.
There was no... Maybe... So I was thinking about why this could be. Maybe Val and Gilly, spending a lot of time together with the babies, have developed a relationship.
Right.
And
that I believe.
And Val knows that Gilly and Sam are close, and Val knows that Sam and Jon are close, and she figured, that might be an angle to play there.
But if Gilly can get in to see Jon without Val or Sam in attendance, why not go with Val? Why not the two of you both like get down on your knees and say, "Please save him"?
Yeah, that's true. I could
Something
see
doesn't
your
ring
point.
true. I've got my little suspicion monitor is something's not right. I think Jon's having an affair with Gilly.
Oh gosh. Oh, she came out crying. So that's
No.
Well, she didn't come out crying, I guess. She came out looking really upset and stressed.
Well, there's other possibilities. I'm just throwing one out there.
Yeah, I get you.
So, once again, and every time he does it, it makes my blood boil. Sam,
Me too. I know where you're going with this.
passes an opportunity to tell Jon the unbelievably good news that Bran Stark is alive.
Yes.
It's not going to affect him now. He's got responsibilities. He's not going to ride off north of the wall looking for him. But he would sleep so much better at night.
Right. I get honoring a promise that you made.
Yeah.
But letting your best friend think his brother's dead, when faced with said best friend specifically saying about his brother being dead when you know that he's not dead, that's a tough one to stick with there.
Yeah, because Jon basically says, I remember Bran and Tommen fighting in the yard, and Tommen's now High King and Bran's dead. It's like, oh...
Well,
do it by accident. Just blurt it out, and then say, "Oh, sorry, right. I made a vow. You not to know."
So if he's struggling over this, my advice would be, if he needs a tiebreaker, who do you owe more allegiance to? Bran, Jojen, and Cold Hands, or to your best friend and the person you say has saved your life on countless occasions, Jon Snow? And
to me, okay. Ask yourself why the vow was made. The vow was made because they didn't want to be interfered with. They thought if people knew, they would be interfered with. There's one person who you can bring into that circle of trust, and that's Jon Snow.
Yeah.
If you tell Janos Slynt, that's a disaster for everyone involved. But if you tell Jon Snow, it goes no further, and Jon sleeps so much better at night. It's such a strange thing. He better never sleep with Gilly. That's all I'm saying. If this guy breaks that vow, I'm going to be really annoyed.
Right. Now, I guess we can't say for sure that Jon wouldn't go send rangers after his little brother, who is traipsing through the north by him with just a handful of kids and a guy riding an elk.
Flip it around. Extract that promise from Jon before you tell him.
Right.
Jon, I'm sworn to secrecy. I can't tell you this. If I tell you this, you have to promise not to act on it.
Right. Yeah. And now knowing that Bran is alive might change his feelings on Stannis' plans for the North, which we're trying to figure out what Stannis' new plans for the North are as well. Stannis might be doing the same. But,
to be fair to Stannis, he may not be keeping it from us. He may not have a clue.
Right. Because you assume, being that they all think that Jon is the only Stark-ish family member left alive, that Stannis is going to promote a non-Stark to Lord Paramount of the North.
Yeah.
So, but if Jon knows that Bran is alive, he might feel compelled to say, whoa. There must be a Stark in Winterfell, and there's still one Stark alive.
Well, that is true. That's a good point, actually. That part of the promise that Jon would have to make to Sam might not... But again, the whole thing is, Bran is so vulnerable. He's so vulnerable.
Right.
That you've got to protect him. And if protecting him means keeping that vow, even to let Winterfell fall into the wrong hands, there's always tomorrow,
Yes. Yeah, Bran shows up, and all of a sudden, it's like, well, the Stark's back. So
right, exactly.
Beat it, bozo.
Yeah.
But now Sam
it's
is
Bolton,
left.
I think, but I like bozo too.
Bolton, bozo. But now Sam is leaving on a Myrcella-like journey around the narrow sea.
By the way, almost pedantry, but why is their first port of call on a different continent than the one they're aimed at?
Yeah. Right. I definitely see what you're saying. I guess hadn't really looked at the map to see... Because, there are places like Oldtown, if you don't want to stop at King's Landing, which I can understand, but yeah.
But even
why
then,
go across
who's
the
going to
Narrow
stop
all the way
them?
across?
They're an old and a fat brother of the Night's Watch, and a lady with a baby.
And
is King's Landing that locked down that this would trigger alarms?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, going all the way across. Now, it's narrow for a reason, but it's still, it's called narrow for a reason, but you still got to go all the way across it to get to Braavos.
Plus the danger. Sam's terrified. He thinks they're going to sink. The danger of going across a sea is much greater than going down a coast. Sure. Down a coast, if a storm pulls up, you pull in. You drop anchor. But going across the ocean, you got to. Well, it's not exactly an ocean, but it's a lot wider than. Narrow, as you say, is relative. It is quite a big ocean.
Yes. I had not thought about that. You make a very valid point. Why are they going across it if they don't need to? But, so Sam thinks that the Lannisters face scorn if it's thought around the realm that only Stannis rode to the defense of the realm. We know the current political situation in King's Landing better than Sam does. Do we agree with that idea?
I think Tywin has always been sort of like sensitive to this sort of like the impression that his family has. Like his being late to the party on Robert's Rebellion, he hears those stories that people tell about him for that, and it hurts him, and he knows how Walder Frey is considered in the realm as well.
The late Walder Frey.
Exactly. Right. So he doesn't want that. But I will say, the chances
but he's dead, so...
Well, that's true, yes. But that's kind of like, that's probably the embodiment of who they're thinking would be worried about the scorn that they would face.
Yes, they don't know that Tywin's dead. They mention him several times in this chapter.
But the scorn, how does the scorn reach the ears of the common people? It's basically through songs. If somebody makes a song about Stannis saving the realm at the wall, that's a problem for Tywin, and he wouldn't like that. But this singer would have to go to the wall. To find this out. How are you going to find that out? And then how are you going to get that to spread across the realm when you can't even get out of the north?
So, if you're Stannis, you hire as many singers as you can round up in the north.
And send them on a boat to Braavos?
Yes. First, send them to Braavos. Just to do it. Not for any strategic point. Just to do it.
I'm imagining the first letter home from Sam to Jon. Ship travel is kind of annoying because the ship is full of singers singing about bloody Stannis and his exploits. And where was Tywin?
They've got Darren with them, and Darren is a singer. Before they leave, they need Darren to come up with a few pro Stannis songs.
Maybe that's Jon is balancing. So part of Jon's plan here is to protect people from Stannis, and Stannis is going to be mad when he finds out. Perhaps that's the other side of the equation. But
wait till you hear what I did for you.
I love it.
Yeah, in all honesty, though, I'm not sure. You mentioned, and you brought up some really valid points to back it up, that, yes, reputation means a lot to Tywin about the House Lannister reputation. I'm not sure Cersei cares as much about such things. I think her primary concern is taking care of her children and herself. And
you're thinking that our King's Landing PR firm might fold now we don't have Tywin to sell to.
Right. Now, we do have Kevin, and he might see the possibility of, wait, we can't just let Stannis be the only one riding to the rescue of the realm up there, and suggest reacting to prevent that.
Well, I was just going to say, the one thing that I would think about there is those stories, those songs, teasing the royal family only really matter if the battle for the Iron Throne is still going on.
Right.
And Tywin, or whoever embodies the Lannisters now, might calculate, we would be better off not sending any troops to help Stannis at the wall, so that he loses even more of his troops, so that by the time he challenges us again for the Iron Throne, he can't defeat us, we win, and then people can sing songs all they want. I don't care. The songs are dangerous when the battle is still going on.
Yeah, that is true. And in order for Stannis to be considered a hero for riding to the defense of the realm, something tangible has to happen beyond just some wildlings banging around north of the wall, you know. It has to be some sort of proof that he actually did something up there for them to be like, hey, Stannis the hero, you know.
With only 1,000 knights on horseback, he was able to repel hundreds of women carrying snowballs.
Now, and Sam also thinks that the retribution against the Night's Watch for if Stannis loses and the Lannisters, they think Tywin considers that the Night's Watch helps Stannis, that it could be the end of the Night's Watch. My thought is King's Landing is so far away from the wall. They've got a lot of bigger fish to fry and will for a long time. Likely, if the Lannisters did take retribution against the Night's Watch, it would just be Jon, just the Lord Commander, not the rank and file.
Yeah. I mean, they don't care about the Night's Watch when the Night's Watch appeal for more men. They're not going to care if the Night's Watch do something that smacks of treachery towards them, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So Jon has a slightly ironic line where he says that Mance's blood is no more royal than his own. Mance is just a brigand. But, of course, Jon was brother to a king.
Yeah, well, I mean, just Stark blood in general stems from thousands of years of kings in the north. So it's a little bit ironic that he's got no royal blood just like I do. And it's like, well, what you don't realize, Jon, is that Robb actually made you heir before he died.
That's right.
You got a little more royal blood.
You are actually king in the north, and you don't even know it.
Right. Mm. So there's an important distinction that they bring up about the written history in Westeros. Sam has been tasked with finding out everything he can about the others and how to defeat them, and he comes back with not a lot of useful information. And he says, well, it's because the earliest works that we have were done by Andals after conquering the First Men. All that the First Men left were runes and stuff like that. And so these accounts are thousands of years after the events of the Age of Heroes, which is, when the last night occurred and when the others were really a factor. Yeah. And it's important to keep that in mind, that they know nothing about really the what, the why, or the when any of the things happen, like the building of the wall. All they have are these stories that are thousands of years after the events. The creation of the Night's Watch, the long night itself, the battle. They're really clueless to all of this.
Yeah, I mean, the timelines of the story are really ridiculous. I mean, we don't have any written work from thousands of years ago. I mean, from the kinds of timelines that they have, we have some cave drawings. That's all we have.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising. I did a little bit of research on how long paper lasts, just to see if it was realistic. And
okay. Oh, good to know. What'd you find?
Well, early paper was not made from wood. It was made from cloth and rags. So and actually, they had more cellulose, longer cellulose strings in them, and they take longer to break down. So they actually, older paper lasted longer. Wood cellulose, which is what paper is made from now, the cellulose strings are shorter, and so they degrade quicker.
Oh, so I could see that.
500 years is, pretty miraculous for any paper that we have today, even kept in fantastic conditions. Clearly, underneath the wall, year-round, with mice, is not great conditions to be kept in.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
No.
Does this feel like a death sentence for Maester Aemon? I mean, they actually do talk about this. They weren't blasé about the fact they were sending a 102-year-old man on a epic journey the length of the continent.
Yes.
Being burned alive is not a lot more dangerous to a 100-year-old than this kind of journey.
It's really not.
Probably nastier,
really not.
But
yes.
no more dangerous.
Early in this chapter, Sam thinks that Aemon hasn't been strong as of late and needs his help, assuming that a 102-year-old always needs some sort of help from Sam. It seems like he must be not faring very well right now and needing additional help, which is not great for the beginning of such a journey in its own right. So he's coming, like you mentioned, he's coming on this trip to prevent being burned as a sacrifice. And we talked before about Stannis and Aemon being related. They're related through Stannis' grandmother, Rhaelle Targaryen. Edric Storm, though, is a much closer relation, being his nephew. And it seemed that Edric was inching closer toward being sacrificed. So, the fact that they are related, Stannis and Aemon, I'm not sure was going to really save him much.
And especially because, although Edric is closer to Stannis, Aemon has his own king's blood as well through the Targaryen side of him. Well, I mean, obviously they share that, but Aemon's Targaryen is stronger, has less Baratheon thinning it out.
Yes, it does. And, there was a war between the Baratheons and the Targaryens during both of their lifetimes. So, they might not, regardless of whether there is a familial relationship there, Stannis might not care much about that. And one thing that Aemon tells Sam in this chapter is that he recalls that there's this inn on an island in the Honeywine in Oldtown, and he can't wait to sit there once again and drink cider. And, of course, that's the Quill and Tankard from the prologue, and we learned in the prologue that it hasn't closed ever in 600 years.
Right.
And Maester Aemon's old, but he's not that old. So surely he, too, sat right where poor Pate sat and enjoyed the cider. And one thing, so when Sam is told that he's going on this voyage, he thinks of the Arbor Queen and almost chokes on his tongue. Just keep that in mind. There'll be more. We'll get more on that in the future.
Okay.
So just remember that he thought of the Arbor Queen and almost choked on his tongue.
Yeah, so Jon's very surprised that Sam's so resistant to the idea of becoming a maester. I mean, it felt like this would be Sam's dream, but this is the problem. It was Sam's dream, and when he suggested it to his father turned on him in a very unpleasant way, in a very Randall Tarly kind of way, and chained him up and said, Tarleys don't wear chains of servitude. So his father did not want him to become a maester, but then shipped him off to the wall, which is pretty much another form of servitude.
Yeah, we've talked of how cruel it was for Randall to send Sam to the Night's Watch when he could have accomplished the same goal, not being his heir and having no kids, by letting him go to the Citadel and become a maester, which Sam is much better suited for. And now we see why. No Tarly will wear a chain of servitude. So it makes little sense. As a maester, he gives up his last name. Yeah. So there's no Tarly name being tarnished. At the Night's Watch, however, he keeps his last name.
He's Sam the Coward Tarly.
Right. And the Tarleys are too good to have maesters in their family. But royalty can serve as maesters. We've got Maester Aemon right here. Yeah. So, Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about all this is it feels like the story is sort of heading towards culmination. And this feels like a very long-term plan to stick in the middle of it.
Yes, it does.
The dead are rising. You know what? You need to get yourself to university, my friend, and come back with some answers for us, We'll all be here dead when you get back.
It is a very long-term plan. I went back and did some looking. It's It's unclear how many links are needed to forge a chain long enough to
You've got to imagine
become a
Sam's
maester.
neck is thicker than most people's.
It's true. We had talked about it has to do with the thickness of the neck. We know that there's one acolyte in the story who has 9 links forged and still hasn't become a maester yet. So it must be more than 9. Maybe it's 10. I don't know. The average seems to be about 1 link forged per year.
Jeez.
To the average student. Exceptional students like Alaris from the prologue forged 3, yes, in a year. It took Aemon 10 years to forge his chain. Now, he started at around 9 or 10, so, Sam has an advantage on him there.
Sam can read and bathe himself and things like that.
Even if he's an amazing student, it's going to take at least 2 years to forge enough links to make this plan work.
But once Sam gets over the trauma of living the life that he once asked for and was brutally rebutted, he's going to realize this is what he wants for himself. It's what he wanted when he asked, and now he's getting it. I think this is a great result for Sam, and I think he's going to enjoy it.
I think it will be in the long term. Currently, he has a fear of being a healer and dealing with death and blood, and he said they make you cut up corpses and stuff, and You know
what? Often thought about doing medicine myself, and I'm with Sam. That's why I'm not a doctor. That's why I'm not that kind of doctor.
Right. You are a doctor, just not that kind of doctor.
I'm not one of these butchers who just chops up dead bodies. So, Aemon left a book for Jon with a passage highlighted that he might find interesting. Are you going to tell me more, or is that for spoilers?
I'm just going to say, hang on to that statement, just like with the Arbor Queen.
Right.
We'll find out what it is in time. But yes, if you're in one of the spoiler tiers, you're going to find out shortly what that means.
And as well as this being great news for Sam, this is really good news for Gilly. And it's slightly strange that both of them have a negative reaction to it. It seems I'm just speculating, but I think Jon told her what he wanted from her, and she got upset by it. But maybe he did. Maybe Jon told her, "I'm sending you away from the wall," and forgot to mention, "I'm sending Sam with you," because Sam's basically her only friend in the world. I could understand her being upset about leaving Sam, but if Sam's going with you, you'd be like, "Oh, best of all worlds here." So
yeah.
But we don't have her POV. We had Sam's POV to understand why he wasn't happy with it, but not hers.
You would think the next morning when she saw Sam, she would be like, "Oh,
hey,
this is great. Sam's coming with me."
Still upset, yeah.
I wondered if possibly the idea of leaving home, her home region, being a wildling for the unknown, scary world.
But you see, but I don't even think of her as a wildling because she was one of Craster's daughters. Her world was Craster's keep.
Yes, you're right. Yes. She doesn't have any of the wildling practices.
Exactly.
Or traditions or anything.
No wildling friends, She's a complete singleton. So she's got no ties.
Right. Now, she is concerned for Dalla's boy when she's leaving. And, I can understand. She's been his wet nurse for a while. I'm sure she's grown attached to him. So her crying this morning could be understandable that she is sad to leave this little boy she's probably grown to feel close to.
It does feel like Jon should already have the new wet nurse lined up, not have a tentative plan to find one.
Yes. What if there's a shortage, What? Right. There's a baby. A baby's life is at stake here.
I mean, we're gonna... as soon as that staircase is built, second on my list.
Yeah, Sam proposes goat milk in the interim. How about there is no interim? Don't execute the plan until you've got that piece figured out.
So you said last sentence.
So the last sentence, I always make a big deal about the last sentence of a chapter, unless it's a Sam chapter followed by a Jon chapter. Then sometimes the Sam chapter just ends. But this time, because it's part 1 of Jon's part 2, this time I do think there was some impact in the sentence. So The chapter ends with Jon and Sam saying goodbye to each other. And we're Sam's POV, and he thinks Jon has a strange smile on his face, and then says to Sam, "Pull your hood up. The snowflakes are melting in your hair." And I think the reason why Jon had a strange smile on his face is because he was remembering the last time he said goodbye to a brother that he loved, and snowflakes were melting in Robb's hair, and then he never saw Robb again.
Huh.
And I think he's remembering that and thinking, I hope to see you again.
That's really good. Well done. Good piecing it back together. I thought it was sort of like, Night's Watch 101, stay dry, you'll freeze to death out here, But yeah, I think what you have said is actually the correct interpretation.
So you went survival skills.
Exactly.
I went sentimentality.
Yeah, that sounds about, well, apart from being the survival skills. All right. Now, a little brief interlude for spoilers for our spoiler tier listeners. All right, that's good spoilers. Thanks. Do you have some background?
I do. Well, so Randyll Tarly was having none of Sam studying at the Citadel to become a maester. Seemingly, the concern was Sam weakening the reputation of House Tarly with this whole we don't wear chains of servitude thing. Yet men from many great houses have served as maesters, including men from the monarchy like our beloved Aemon Targaryen here. Well, Aemon was not the only Targaryen to don the maester's chain. Prince Vaegon Targaryen preceded Aemon at the Citadel. He was born about 140 years previous to him, so preceded them by a good bit.
Yeah.
But as the seventh child...
Probably just about graduated.
Yes. As the seventh child and fourth son of King Jaehaerys and Queen Alysanne, Vaegon had little chance of becoming king. He was originally pegged to marry his younger sister Daella. However, the two siblings really didn't care much for each other, and eventually Vaegon made it pretty clear he had no interest in marrying his sister. King Jaehaerys tried to turn him into a bit more of a warrior, tasking his older brother to train Vaegon. Vaegon's older brother, not Jaehaerys' older brother. That went disastrously. After being pummeled and taunted by another sister of his, Alyssa, in a sparring match, Vaegon threw down his sword and never stepped foot in a practice yard again. As time went on, it became pretty clear that the young prince had no interest at all in girls at court whatsoever, and on his 15th name day, his parents decided the life of a maester might be what's best for their son. The king and queen were wise in this. Vaegon rose through the ranks at the Citadel, ultimately becoming an archmaester specializing in yellow gold, which is for math and economics. It's here where another possible similarity between Vaegon and Maester Aemon takes shape. Vaegon had mostly been forgotten about by those in the Seven Kingdoms. However, about 20-some-ish years later, King Jaehaerys called upon his son after the death of the king's heir Baelon. It was unclear what they discussed. Some think the king offered to make Vaegon his heir, and that Vaegon refused. Others think the king simply wanted his son's counsel regarding who his successor should be. Either way, it was Vaegon who suggested that a great council be formed to determine the heir. Yes, it's the same great council that chose Viserys I as heir, and that is the same Viserys from House of the Dragon Season 1. An interesting side note about Vaegon, again, he was forgotten during Viserys' reign. And we know the Dance of the Dragon begins after the death of King Viserys, pitting Targaryen against Targaryen. Well, Vaegon would have been only 66 years old when the war broke out, yet there's no mention of him being involved by either side. So either he died before then, or even his own family forgot about old Vaegon.
Interesting, yeah. Well, thanks. Appreciate that. Comparison with the television show, this whole scene was pushed much further back in the story. It's actually season 5, episode 10 that this scene happens. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so Sam stays at the wall for a lot longer and witnesses a lot more of what's going to go on at the wall. And then here's the biggest difference. It's Sam's idea, not Jon's. So there's none of this soul searching about, I don't want to go and do this.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah, and that's because there are two things that happen in the show. One thing has already come to pass, and I'm going to say it because it's just a TV show spoiler, which is Aemon has passed away. So the
Right.
whole idea of getting Aemon away from the wall no longer holds because he already passed away. He's 102. He was going to die soon. Sorry for the
Sure.
spoiler. But again, that's just TV show. It's not book.
Right.
I'm not spoiling the book. And then the other possible thing was dropped from the TV show. So there was no reason for Jon to send Sam away in the TV show. And so it was given to Sam to suggest it to Jon. But it seems it's so late in the story, it seems even weirder to embark on a 10-year odyssey at this juncture. You see those blue-eyed guys over there?
We can hold them off for about 1 decade.
Right. And also, just a matter of interest, actually, he's making no secret of his feelings towards Gilly, even towards his own Lord Commander during this scene.
Oh.
Like, not
Okay.
even subtle. He's telling him. He's kissing and telling, basically, is what he's doing.
Wow.
Pedantry Corner, I had just a small one. They set off towards Eastwatch in the shadow of the wall. Well, forgive me, Dr. Martin, but shadows are cast on the other side of the wall, not on this side.
I knew when I saw the thing about there will be no towns or inns
in the shadow
in
of
the
the
shadow.
wall.
Yes, I thought, I wonder if Simon's got something to say about that.
I do. I mean, I understand that phrase is used, metaphorically, and
Right.
Yeah, and so it's fine. I'm not gonna. But literally, the wall doesn't cast a shadow there. It is always on the sunny side of the wall.
Huh. I would not have known that. So
The wall runs
Fascinating.
east-west, and so if you're on the south of the wall, the wall's never going to cast a shadow. The sun's always going to be.
Yes, I see your point.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I would have not thought about it unless you pointed it out like that.
That's what I'm here for. All right, news and notes. We're going to have a live video chat with our sustainers on, let me see if I get this right, March the 19th?
Yep, which is the day this episode drops. So for our sustainers, hopefully they'd already heard it through their early episode.
Sounds good. Join our sustainers if you want to join us for a video chat. We have a lot of fun with those.
We do.
So, in conclusion, it's great news for Sam. He gets to be the maester he was born to be. Not certain that the Seven Kingdoms will be around for his graduation, but my suggestion to him is very much focus on the dragonglass link of his chain first.
Yes.
I recall that was not one of them. Or was it?
But Valyrian steel. There's a Valyrian steel
that would
one
also
for,
work, yeah. But
yes.
that's a hard one to get, right?
It's for special. I can't remember the exact wording, but like special sciences.
Gotcha.
Magic and such.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's natural and warranted to fear about Maester Aemon's well-being on this journey.
Yeah. Maybe though. I mean, as Jon said, Maester Aemon was involved in this decision. He was not. It's not.
He was
made against his will. So
right.
Perhaps he just wants to feel warmth on his old bones again before he dies. I could actually understand that. This is like a New Jersey pensioner moving to Florida.
Right. Yeah. And Maester Aemon surely knows what his possible fate is if he stays at the wall. So it's either, die in a sacrificial pyre or take your chances,
There is a third way. There is stay at the wall and convince them not to set you on fire.
Right.
By
that
logic
is the third option.
And reasoned argument.
And he is good at that kind of thing.
He is.
It's a possibility.
But if it goes wrong, he's not going to be able to run away from them.
No, that's true.
And Gilly, why is she so upset to be leaving? She's leaving Dalla's son behind, and she was the wet nurse, but the one person she knows and loves and cares about is with her, Sam. So it seems just a bit strange.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. I was thinking maybe it's because she's leaving the familiar confines of the far north. But yeah, she was confined to Craster's Keep. She didn't know anything outside of that. Yeah. So yeah, you make a lot of sense there.
And also, I don't know about you, but confined cabins, small boat, I'm thinking Gilly and Sam, their love might flower on this journey. I mean, they're into each other.
Possibly. I will have to say, if I were to guess of anybody that's going to be seasick, though, it will be Sam.
Sam Tarly wins
Yes.
that. That's true. That is a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, though. At some point he's going to have to get his sea legs. It's a long journey. He can't. If he doesn't get over seasickness by the time to get to Oldtown, he's going to be as thin as Jon, not being keeping anything down for months. So, and it was nice having a POV checking in on Jon, since there's no Jon POVs in A Feast for Crows.
Oh, but now our one POV has left his side.
Yes,
so.
Exactly. It was a one-shot deal here.
And up next we have Arya, right?
We do, yes. She arrives in Braavos.
You know what? That's why he's sending Sam to Braavos. We want our random connections to happen.
Let's see.
Weave
that would be pretty
neat.
neat.
Weave a tapestry.
Yes, that would be pretty neat if they were to happen to meet up over there.
Yeah. All right. As always, there's 4 ways that you can help us. You could leave us a 5-star rating and a positive review. There's absolutely no better way to spread the word, and we appreciate everyone who's done that for us. You could buy some merchandise from us at ghostsofharrenhal.threadless.com. You could buy us a cup of Arbor Gold at buymeacoffee.com/ghostsharrenhal. Become a sustainer at any of the various levels, the upper ones of which get you to the spoiler chat, which you'll like. And you could just donate directly to our cause through our website, ghostsofharrenhal.buzzsprout.com.
And if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, keeping up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, you can always check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.